Can everybody hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. You can also see the screen clearly. Chapter 1, role of selling.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Right, any epiphanies that anybody had during the break? Nothing. Right. Now your worst nightmare has actually come true. We take you back to first year in marketing, because the first couple of chapters in sales and operations deals with a sort of a summary of what you should know by now already, and that you might have heard on a few occasions before. And those are things like the marketing mix, the marketing concept, the different marketing philosophies or orientations. And it's important, if we want to be successful in this particular module, that we start off with sort of a summary of what happened in year one. Otherwise, it takes us 2-3 days or even sometimes weeks just to get, oh yes, I can remember this vaguely from. No, let's rather start, lay the foundation. We're building a house. The house is not complete. We've got the plans. Those are your assessment guides. Those are on Canvas, the model layout for the semester. How are we going to get there so all of you successfully pass this module in November when you write the exam? And that's the journey that will start today. So for us to be able to do that, it's like it's like starting a construction process, and then for some other reason, could be COVID, could be lack of finances, you had to stall the whole project. So the foundations are there already, but you're only going to come back maybe a couple of months later to continue the work. Now, when you're involved with something on a daily basis, you're so involved that it becomes part of your routine, and you just almost do it as a second nature. But if you've actually been away from something for a while, you know what? It takes time for us to just pick up some of the loose ends, and that's basically what this week's sessions, today, tomorrow, and Friday would be, just to get us onto the same page again, because some people have completely forgotten what we did in year one. Some people can vaguely remember. So we want everybody to get on the same page when we resume with, I would say, new work, but with what the essence of sales and operations is about. Now, as I suggested in the previous session already, we're going to be looking at different types of selling, the characteristics of modern day selling, and obviously something that you should hopefully remember from year one marketing is the categories of customer groups. In other words, the market segments. How do you segment a market? Why do you segment the market? And then obviously the different marketing orientations, production, sales, marketing, customer orientation, which is actually also marketing. It's exactly the same thing. It's just a different name for the same concept. Right. What is selling all about? Selling is about one thing. Your objective is to make a sale. Traditionally, that has been the target of anybody that's in sales. You want to make a sale. Now, as I have already pointed out in our first period, the reputation of sales as a profession in general has not been, traditionally has not been very good, because people were too focused on making the sale, chasing the sale, although that still remains your objective. you're not going to be successful in sales if you're just a nice guy and everybody likes you. You know what? If you don't make the targets at the end of the month for a couple of months running, your sales manager is going to ask you to maybe seek other employment. The bottom line is it is still very much a profession in which you are evaluated primarily on the outcomes of your efforts. Have you reached your target? Have you exceeded your target? Fantastic. Maybe there's a bonus for you. But like in sport, a lot of people participate. When you take it to professional level, very competitive. You know what? I watched a video. Some of you might have heard the name before. If not, I recommend that you at some point at least watch one YouTube clip where this person is being interviewed. It's called Gary Player. In my opinion, the best athlete, sportsman that this country has ever produced. He's 85 years old at the moment. He's played golf since the age of 17. He started playing golf when he was 14 and turned professional when he was 17. And he's won tournaments in every one of 7 decades. Now, for basically people, none of us have actually lived for 7 decades. So yeah, I think he pretty much sort of ticks the box when it comes to being qualified as a legend in not just in sport because of his achievements. And at the end of the day, the video I watched, he was very clear. I said, you can have the best swing in the business, you can have the best clothing in the business, you can have the best golf clubs in the business. How many tournaments have you won? Now, coming from somebody who has won 9 major events, for those who follow golf, it's like winning 9 Wimbledons or 9 Masters or 5, 6 golds at the Olympics. And in total, he earned not even $1 million for it. It was the time that he played in, obviously, as a result. Nowadays, people do that just for pitching, and some people sometimes the appearance money is $1 million, and sometimes they even turn that down. But he made a very, very interesting point, and that was that you are only going to be, I mean, just admit, Ruan, you're only going to be judged on how successful you are. If you have won a tournament, unfortunately, regardless how, it's like the Springboks beating the Lions on the weekend. It was ugly rugby. I was bored, but it was thrilling to the extent where the result was always in doubt. We will 10 years from now not remember most of what happened on Saturday evening. But you will know that South Africa won the game because that's what it says in the record books. Similarly with Olympians, how many medals they've won and how many people tend to forget quickly. You are judged on your results. In sales, in business, very much the same. However, there's been a slight shift to ensure that it's not just about sales. However, before we attend to that, it's important for us to highlight what makes a sale successful, or what is necessary to make a sale successful. There are certain principles that need to be followed. There are certain techniques that are more successful than others. If you repetitively do that, and again, like I said earlier with the example of your assignment with the Win Health products, if you copy a bad copy, you're going to get a worse copy. If you copy the original, you're going to get a better quality copy. It's exactly the same here. If you copy bad habits, you eventually are going to not have the results. And then there are certain skills that you need to have. Unfortunately, if you and I don't want to distinguish between the different personalities, but the long and the short is that if your chances of being successful in selling is just a bit better if you have a sort of a if you're more of an extrovert. You can, however, and I look at my two sons, and the one is very much an introvert and the one is very much an extrovert. The one that actually have more confidence is the introvert. He's more knowledgeable, he's better versed, and therefore he's, I think, calmer in certain situations where he's put under pressure. Where somebody who has a lot of confidence, who are very outgoing, very often find themselves in a difficult situation when they're put under pressure. Some act to it very well, and others don't. Most of us don't. So there are specific characteristics. There are certain specific personality or certain skills that personalities need to have to be successful in selling, and we'll address that in some of the later chapters. Right. Different situations or different types of salespeople that we have come across or that you have met over a period of time would probably be estate agents are salespeople, people selling cars at dealerships, they are salespeople, medical reps, they are salespeople. Can anyone of you think of anything else or any specific profession, just as a matter of an example that we can maybe add to the list?
People that sell insurance.
Insurance, outsurance, yeah, outsurance, selling insurance, very much so. I see our original face of outsurance is back on social media, although not back with outsurance. And I said to you guys last semester as well, I watched, and I'm very much into following MasterChef Australia at the moment. They're down to the top 9 or top 10. And it was amazing the amount of pet insurance adverts in 1 hour. I didn't know there were so many. But you're right. One, yes, for sure. Salespeople selling insurance, financial advisors, people giving you advice on investments. It's a good example again of salespeople as well. Anything else? Anybody else can add anything? Or maybe just throw your 2 cents into the discussion, and we can qualify and see if it's a salesperson or not, or if that person is actually in sales or not. Because again, people, it's about breaking down perceptions. You might see that person as a sales as being in sales, but it's actually not. And to be honest with you, almost everybody in every business, although they're not appointed in a particular and their job title is not that of sales, are into selling. You are selling yourself. Are you guys still socializing, going out? I know that curfew has been changed. You guys can stay out a bit later now. Do you still go out? Do you still socialize? I mean, there's no trick question. It's not a trick question. I just want to use this as an example to continue from here. You guys still go out? When last did you go out?
Yes, sir.
And you Uber afterwards, obviously. Right. When you're going out to a bar, when you're going out to a social gathering, why do you do that? Why do we go out to functions,
To
to
socialize
restaurants,
and meet new people.
to meet other people, to socialize? Yes. What are we doing when we're there, especially at the age that you are at the moment? What's your objective? Just to have a good time?
Communicate and have a good time, yes.
Yeah, to meet other people. Any of you, all of you are single? Who's single and who's in a sort of a long-term relationship or any form of a relationship that's lasted longer than 2 days? And we're becoming too personal now. What I'm trying to get to is when you even go out to socialize, people, you are selling yourself. You are dressing up in a specific manner. You're putting on a certain aftershave. You are portraying a certain style that hopefully highlights your better characteristics. You engage in conversation with other people. You are selling yourself. You're not just chit-chatting all the whole evening. You are trying to sell yourself by trying to impress other people to maybe for that to result in a closer relationship. Okay, isn't that what the intention is of these events? That this is why we go out to these different social gatherings. Am I right? Am I wrong? I mean, help me, please. I mean, I haven't been out on the market for the last 25 years. Okay, I've been off the market for 25 odd years, so I don't know. Is that what's still happening? Because that's how I can remember from my days of being at your age. That's what you go out. Yeah, you go out to have a good time and spend time with your friends, and sometimes there is something or somebody that you're attracted to and that you want to maybe pursue in a different way, and as a result of that, you're selling yourself, people. We're always selling ourselves. When you go for a job interview, you're selling yourself. Yes, Ron.
So it's the same. I go out with my dad a lot to meet his friends as well because they usually work in businesses or own businesses. So you present yourself by going out with them, and later on they actually notice, okay, you are an outgoing person, and I've actually gotten a lot of job opportunities by doing this.
You're quite right. Ron, as I said, we're always by me saying that we are intending to sell ourselves when we engage in social interaction like this is for various reasons. It might be to engage in a relationship. It might be to network and like Ruan said, and find opportunities that we didn't know even existed because we have never engaged in that situation. So we're always selling people. We are selling ourselves. And before Ruan made his point, I said that when you go for a job interview, you're selling yourself. You want to get the job, don't you? That's why you go. You're not going to lie because they have your CV, they have your information. They've probably done 3 credit and drug test checks on you and see if everything is fine. But the bottom line is, you are still presenting yourself in a particular manner that you want them to perceive you to be, to see if you're the right candidate for a job or not. People, we're forever selling, regardless of what we are doing. You don't have to be in a sales position representing a particular company and selling a specific product to be in sales. We're all in sales. Obviously, for the subject that we cover in sales and ops for this module, we specifically look at you representing a particular company or service and selling that to a potential customer. Right. I think before often related to this particular movie for you guys. I hope the quality of the sound is good. Let's have a quick 2-minute video clip and see how this goes. From the movie Founder, Ray Kroc. Rightio. The reason why I showed you that clip is later on we'll refer back to it. But that's your traditional salesperson, the person who had the products that and that he's trying to sell to different companies in the back of the boot of his car, and he's knocking on doors and he's getting rejected. That was the traditional, or that I think for many people is still the image of a salesperson, the person who carries a lot of stuff around, is trying to sell it, and obviously what we're going to try and do in this module is to build on that and see how it has evolved, where some of those traditional principles are still required to be applied. I just want to check and see on my clock here, because we've got 7 minutes to go. I'll finish off the next 2 slides, and yeah, with the 5-minute breaks between classes, I've got a different class and a different group that I have to attend to. So it makes it very difficult for us to attend to any questions. So I'm going to just finish the next 2 slides with this one and the following one, and allow a couple of minutes for questions before we finish today's session. That particular table that you see on the screen is on page 5 of in your textbooks, which most of you, none of you have at the moment, and thankfully, yes, it's included in your slides. But again, I'm not going to give you a question in an exam paper and say, listen, give me 5 strengths and 5 weaknesses of personal selling. This is just to give you an idea of what personal selling is about, and yeah, what the weaknesses and the strengths of it is. Personal selling, for instance, will definitely, because it's interactive, allow you the opportunity to immediately address the situation. You can adapt. Point 2, you can adapt. If somebody says, if you ask them a question and say, oh, no, I don't like, you immediately, because you engage in the process of personal selling, you can react and you can change and you can modify and you can adapt. It is very, on the downside, it's very expensive because it requires a lot of communication. You're not going to make a sale on the first call. You're not going to make a sale on the second call. Very often, it's only the 5th or 6th or the 7th call that you actually eventually break through. And so it's a process, and because it's a process, it's costly. It takes a lot of time for people to become experienced and to master all the skills that's required to selling, and to pick up on all the different signs from customers, the selling signs, so to speak. When you know, sometimes you'll get better at it because you're more experienced, but sometimes there are certain specific answers that customers provide you with that trigger the next step for you in the sales process. We'll deal with the selling cycle later on and the different steps. that starts with your preparation all the way to closing the sale and the follow-up after the sale. I want to leave you today with the next slide, and that is where we put the customer as king. You've heard me say before, and that's why the customer as a circle in the center of that particular figure is the most important, and all the arrows point towards that person as well. The customer is king. The 5 modern characteristics or characteristics of modern selling that we will address from tomorrow individually is very, very specific. You need to be able to retain customers, and you need to be able to get rid of some customers. You need to be able to manage databases. You need to be able to form relationships with your customers. You need to be able to market the product. You need to identify the problems that customers have and the needs they have, and offer them solutions to those problems. You need to add value. Those are all components of modern selling. It's not just about the number at the bottom of the page that says, I have contacted 10 people, I've made 5 appointments, I've closed 3 sales. I know at the end of the day, I started off the session by saying that results is very important, and you will be evaluated on that. But we are dealing here with 2 different types of, and we'll deal with that tomorrow as well, 2 different types of customers. You've got business customers or organizational customers who have where more effort needs to go in, and you're not going to make an immediate sale. And you have sales that somebody walks into Sportsman's Warehouse, he wants to buy a new pair of runners to start running. It's not an expensive item that they. Well, running shoes are very expensive nowadays, but as opposed to buying a house or buying a car, it's not an expensive, or machinery for your factory. So consumers and organizations are different types of customers that salespeople deal with. The same process is followed. The process in the case of organizational selling is just so much longer and more intrigued because there's more people involved. Again, we'll embroider in that in the rest of this chapter and further chapters in the future. Yeah, I'm going to try and stick to my time management, which I'm usually not very great at, and allow you to have any questions or pose any questions to me before we close the session and I get on to the new group, which is a first year group, I believe. Any questions, anybody? If nobody has any questions, I've taken attendance, don't worry. That hasn't slipped my mind. If memory serves me correctly, I just want to check the timetable before we close. I will upload these recordings onto Canvas during the course of this afternoon when I'm finished with my last classes. And we will speak to each other again tomorrow, I believe, at 12:35. Am I right? Have you got that in your timetables as well? I know it's new time. Excuse me?
Yes, sir. 12:35.
12:35. Everybody, thank you for today. Thanks for staying with it, for staying with me for 2 periods. I know it's a lot that you have to handle in the first week already, but thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording now, and I'm also going to bid you farewell.